السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد. As we approach the month of Ramadan, I wanted to take this moment in time to address something that requires clarification, because this year, just like a lot of years prior, there have been differences in people starting the month of Ramadan as well as the declaration of Eid. So I just want to explain two methods and explain how the moon actually works. The idea is not to attack any one specific organization or individual. It's just to understand the two different methods and why some people may be doing the start of the month of Ramadan different from what you are accustomed to seeing. So the first method that people generally follow is following Saudi Arabia's announcement. This is pretty simple, straightforward. When Saudi Arabia announces that they have sighted the moon, they also accept this sighting. When they say that they did not sight the moon, then they accept this sighting or the lack of the sighting as well. The intention behind this is often unity and simplicity, and that's the first method. However, for those who understand how the moon works astronomically, this approach can sometimes pose some serious questions, especially when announcements are made at times when the moon would be extremely young. And I'll explain that in the second method. And the second method is sighting the moon with consideration of the possibility of that particular sighting. So this is the method in which, yes, sighting is again mentioned here, but here we also take into consideration whether the sighting is even possible. Both groups take the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, "Sumu li ru'yatihi wa aftiru li ru'yatihi." That fast when you see the moon and break your fast when you see the moon. So the basis is the sunnah, and what is the sunnah? It is ru'ya, the sighting of the moon. Now, before going on further and understanding how this second sighting or the second method works, is understanding what it means when we say the birth of the moon. When we say the birth of the moon, we are talking about astronomical conjunction, and this is the moment when the sun, the moon, and earth are all aligned. At that moment in time, the moment is completely invisible and no crescent exists as of yet that can be seen. Now, from that moment that the birth of the moon occurs, how many hours does it take for it to even be visible? The earliest reported documentation that is reliable that we have available to us, that based off of naked eye, the earliest sighting that has taken place is about 15 and a half hours after conjunction. This is the earliest, this is a record. So obviously this is a very extremely rare case. It's not something that happens very commonly. Normal conditions, naked eye visibility is usually closer to 18 to 20 hours. Then when we add in the idea of using telescopes, so with powerful optical aid under exceptional atmospheric conditions, the earliest documented sightings have been around 11 and a half to 12 hours after conjunction. Anything before that would mean the moon is too close to the sun, the crescent is just way too thin, and the sky brightness overwhelms it, because of which it's just not possible to see this. So putting all of this into context of February 17th, which is going to be on Tuesday, when the birth of the moon takes place, it will be around 12:01 UTC, the Universal Standard Time. From that moment in time until sunset in different localities, I just want to point out how many hours would have occurred since the birth of the moon until sunset in those particular locations. So if we look at Saudi Arabia, the moon will have around 3 hours old since the birth of the moon. In regions like of Pakistan, it's going to be around 5 to 6 hours. In certain African regions, such as Ethiopia, it will be 4 hours. South Africa, 5 hours. When we look at North America, New York area will be around 10 to 11 hours. We go towards Houston, it will be 12 hours. And Los Angeles, Seattle area will be about 13 to 14 hours. So let's just take a pause here for a moment and understand that if the earliest naked eye sighting ever documented is about 15 and a half hours, and even telescopes require roughly 11 to 12 hours at minimum, what does that tell us about a 3-hour-old moon? This is why many scholars have gone to the idea of listening to other parts and setting a different criteria, because this criteria or accepting this type of sighting just did not make sense. So whether you follow Saudi Arabia or whether you follow this local sighting, understand the difference, understand why there is a legitimate reason for people to not necessarily abide by the sighting that is generally announced by Saudi Arabia, and taking things into a different context and a different standard. Whichever you follow, may Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala grant you, your families goodness in this month of Ramadan, and allow this Ramadan to be a means of us gaining His closeness and allowing us to see right as right and wrong as wrong. And may Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala guide each and every one of us. Jazakumullahu khairah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.